Good morning. I am loving getting to see God's personality in the diversity of his body. It's awesome. So my tribe talks a lot about freedom. Freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly. And these are all really important freedoms and ones that I am extremely grateful for. You see, if we read Genesis from the very beginning, guys, God designed us to be free. One of the first things that he did with Adam was to give him choices. And to be really, truly free, we have to be given a choice. In Genesis 2, God brings the animals to Adam. And he actually says to Adam, I'm going to see what you're going to name these. Now, I have to believe God wanted to micromanage that process. But we see God being open-handed with Adam. He plants this beautiful garden. He puts the two trees, tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. And he open-handedly trusts Adam and Eve with this choice, even knowing how it was going to all play out. Spoiler alert, not well. He's saying it's your choice because we are not puppets on his string. There's no domination, there's no control, there's no forcing us to choose him. It's always an invitation with him, always. It's an invitation to choose life, and it's an invitation to choose relationship. God is all about relationship. You know, there's many, many different ways to be free. We can be spiritually free, emotionally free, physically free, financially free. This morning, I want to talk about two freedoms very briefly, and it's freedom in giving and freedom in receiving. In 1 Kings 17, the Lord's told the prophet Elijah, right, to go to the widow in Zarephath. I'm going to pick it up in verse 10. As he arrived at the gates of the village, he saw a widow gathering sticks, and he asked her, "Would you please bring me a little water in a cup?" As she was going to get it, he called to her, "Bring me a bite of bread, too." But she said, "I swear by the Lord your God, I don't have a single piece of bread in the house, and I have only a handful of flour left in the jar and a little cooking oil in the bottom of the jug. I was just gathering a few sticks to cook this last meal, and then my son and I will die." But Elijah said to her, "Don't be afraid. Go ahead and do just what you've said, but make a little bread for me first. Then use what's left to prepare a meal for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. There will always be flour and olive oil left in your containers until the time when the Lord sends rain and the crops grow again." So she did as Elijah said, and she and Elijah and her family continued to eat for many days. Every time I read this story, I gotta say, I get super uncomfortable. Think about this. This is a widow who's cooking the last of what she has. She knows it's the end of the road for her. She's all out of resources, right? Elijah says, "Go ahead, make something for yourself and your son, but make a little for me first." Do what? This is a widow who has nothing. She is going to die. And Elijah is not only willing to receive from her, he's actually asking her for it. That is chutzpah. If you don't know what that is, you're in the right place to find out. So I think maybe it's not actually chutzpah. I think maybe it's somebody who understands God's economy and understands how to live in freedom in receiving from others, right? So the widow gives, Elijah receives, they both get to experience the miracle. Let's look at one more example. This one is written in all four Gospels. Yeshua and his disciples are ministering. They're tired. They're going to pull away and rest. They cross the lake. How amazing is it to read this now that you've actually seen the lake and can picture what's going on, right? So they cross the lake, but the crowds follow, and Jesus does the most Jesus thing ever. He has compassion on them, and tired and exhausted, he spends all day teaching them. It's late in the day. The disciples come to him and say, "Time to call it. The people need to eat. Send them away to get food." Jesus says, "You take care of it." Now, I don't know about you, but tired and hungry is never a good combination. And he says, take care of it, thousands to feed. But Jesus also asked them a simple question. What do you have? What do you have? And Andrew speaks up and says, there's a boy here with 5 loaves and 2 fish. And Jesus does what he always does when we bring what we have, even when it's nowhere near enough. Yeah, so it's never by domination, never by control. It is always by invitation. So today, as we look at this, we get to choose freedom. We get to choose to freely receive. Some of us, we have a hard time with that. Maybe we're too proud. Maybe we're afraid of losing control. We don't want to owe someone. But let's not neglect receiving well. It robs others of the opportunity to give. Maybe we're really good at receiving, but we really struggle to give generously. Let's not rob ourselves of the joy it is to give extravagantly, because that is when we will get to reflect the body of Yeshua. His diversity all around the world is when we are all choosing to freely give, to freely receive, as we've been freely given to. This is the choice of freedom that we have. And when we do all of this together as a body and are reflecting Yeshua, guess what? We will get to experience the multiplication. We will get to experience the miracle together. And I'm thinking about all of these opportunities that we have to connect here in the land, right? With God's body in the land, with each other from all over the world. And it's a perfect example. It's a perfect illustration of what it's like to live in freedom as a reflection of Yeshua. Amen? God bless you.